Okay, so in this section, our last class we talked about linear inequalities. We did an introduction on it. So remember, linear inequalities are just your alligator symbols, less than, equal to, greater than, equal to, and then we talked about how would we answer these graphing problems. So one is written in interval notation. So we talked about the if the endpoints are not included, then we would put parentheses. And if the endpoints are included, then we put them in brackets, square brackets. Okay? So this is what we did first. And so this next part here, we want to indicate whether this has a solution or not. So let's look. So let me write down some problems here. So negative 3x is less than or equal to negative 8, and x equals negative 2. Okay. And then we have 3 over 2t minus 1 half greater or equal to 1 minus t. And they tell us t is equal to 3/5. Okay, so we need to show whether this has a solution or not. So all we need to do is plug it in because they tell us, okay, this is the inequality, and I want you to plug in negative 2 for x. Okay, that's not a problem. So I'm going to plug in negative 2 in here. Okay, so we get negative 3 times negative 2. Well, that's going to give us a positive 6, and then bring everything else down. So that'll be less than or equal to negative 8. So is that true? Is 6 less than or equal to negative 8? No. So this is not true. So this one would be no solution. Okay? All right. So why don't you guys try this one here? So this one says 3/2 t minus 1/2 is greater than or equal to 1 minus t, and t is equal to 3/5. So once you figure this one out, go ahead and submit whether it has solution or no solution. So yes or no. Okay, so for this one, what we need to do is just need to plug in 3/5 for t and see whether this is true or not. So when I did this for the left side, we get 3/2 times 3/2 minus a half. On the right side, we got 1 minus 3/2. So on the left side, 3 times 3 is 9, and 2 times 5 is 10. So remember, you multiply fractions, you multiply across on the top and on the bottom. So we get 9/10, and then minus 1/2. Well, again, we can't do that, so we need a common denominator. So 10 is our LCD, so I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 5. So I'll have a common denominator. So we get 5 over 10. All right, so 9 minus 5 over 10 is going to give us 4/10, okay, which is equal to 2/5. Here, 1 over 5, I'm sorry, 1 minus 3/5. I can change the 1 as 5 over 5 because 5 divided by 5 is equal to 1. So 5 minus 3 divided by 5, that gives me 2/5. Okay, so uh, so it says it's greater than or equal to 2/5. That is true, right? It is at least equal to. It's not greater than, but at least equal to. So it's greater than or equal to. So it is equal to each other. So that is true. So we have a solution. So yes, we have a solution. Okay, so for the next one, they want us to solve each inequality, write each answer in interval notation, and then graph the answer. Okay, so let's do some here. Okay, so we have, say, 8 minus y is greater or equal to 10. And we have negative 2t is greater than negative 3t plus 1. And we have negative 3/10 z is less than 11. Then we have negative 5x plus 4 is less than 44. We have 10 minus 2/5 x is greater than 0. And then we have 69 is greater or equal to 3 minus 11x. So let's go ahead and try those and see what you get. So I will actually do the first one here, and then you guys can do the rest. So for the first one, we have 8 minus y is greater than or equal to 10. So you want to solve this like you want to solve like you solve an equation. So so just do exactly how you solve a regular equation. Okay, so we want to get y by itself, so we're going to subtract 8 on both sides. So the 8 cancels, gives you negative 9 is greater than or equal to 2. And then we have a negative here, so we have to divide by negative 1 on both sides. Okay, so we have y, and then 2 divided by negative 1 is negative 2. Now what happens to the inequality there? It flips, good, right? Since we divide or multiply by a negative number, then the inequality flips. So now it becomes less than or equal to negative 2. Okay, I wrote too big here, but now it wants me to write my answer in interval notation and then graph the answer. Okay, so my in interval notation, that would be, so it's everything less than or equal to negative 2. So that's going to be negative, right? Infinity to negative 2. That's the max it has. So, and then it's less than or equal to, so we're going to have a bracket there. And then remember, infinity, negative infinity will always be a parenthesis. Okay? So that's the answer in interval notation. And then to graph this, um, since the variable is here on the left and then the inequality is pointing to the left, so my graph, so you want to pick at least 2 points, one on each side, okay? So this is less than or equal to, so I'm going to fill that in, okay? And then I'm going to go to the length, okay? So less than or equal to goes to the left, all right? And then that will be my answer if I were to graph it. So again, the what this is saying is that my answer is any number I pick that is less than or equal to negative 2 is a solution to this problem. That's how we put a negative infinity there. All right, so I can pick any number that is, as long as it's less than or equal to negative 2, I'm good. -3 works, -5 works, -10 works, -1,000 works, -1,000,000 works. Whatever number you want to pick, as long as it's less than or equal to -2, it will satisfy this inequality.
I have a question. What if it was just
Okay, so let's go through these problems. And again, if you have any questions, let me know. So the first one, again, you want to solve this like you're solving a linear equation. Okay, so I would always go to the lower number. So -3t is lower than -2t. So I'm going to add those together. Okay, so that gives me a positive t, which is greater than 1. Okay, and that's my answer there. And then in regards to writing it in interval notation, so we want everything bigger than 1, so it's going to be 1 to infinity, and there's no equal sign there, so that's going to be a parenthesis, and again, infinity will always be a parenthesis as well. And then when we try to graph this, remember, pick three numbers. So we have 1 in the middle, 2 to the right, and then 0 to the left. And then we'll have, because it's just a greater than symbol, it'll be an open circle. Okay. It'll be an open circle going to the right. Okay. So I believe last time I mentioned this, that if the variable is on the left, whatever the inequality is pointing to, that should also match the arrow. Okay. So this is less than or equal to, it matches the arrow going that direction. But that only works when the variable is on the left side. It does not work when the variable is on the right side. Okay. All right. For the next one here, we have -3 tan z is less than 11. So remember the operation that's happening between the fraction and the variable is a multiplication. Okay. So we can divide both sides. Okay. By -3/10. Or an easier way is we can also just multiply by the reciprocal. Okay? So that's what I'm going to do. So I'll just multiply by the reciprocal. So again, for those who want to do it this way, that's fine. Okay? And we get z. Okay? So that's going to be what? Z is less than 11, and then I have to flip this. So that'll be 10 over -3. And then multiply across. So that gives us 110. Um, so that gives us z is less than -110 over 3. Okay. All right. So that's one way. The other way that I was mentioning is I can also just multiply by the reciprocal. Okay. So multiply this by 10 over 3, -10 over 3, negative -10 over 3. Okay. And then these guys will cancel. And negative is a positive. And then I'll still get the same thing. -10 over 3. The next one here, same thing, right? We're going to solve for x, so we're going to subtract 4 on both sides. We get -5x is less than 40, and then divide both sides by -5. So in this case, remember, when we divide by negative or multiply by a negative number, we need to flip that inequality. So that gives us x is greater than 8. Sorry, -8. Okay. So I'll just write it here. Our interval notation would be, so we have -8, -7, and then -9. Okay, so the arrow's pointing to the right, so I'm going to go to the right. Okay, and that will be your answer there. All right, for this one, same thing. So we need to um, subtract 10 on both sides. We get -2/5 x is greater than -10. Then I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. You can divide by -2/5 as you want, but I'm just going to multiply by the reciprocal. So -5/2. -5/2. So again, these guys are going to cancel. A negative negative is a positive. Okay, and then this is over 1, so I multiply across. So -10 times -5 is a +50. And then divided by 2 is going to give us 25. Okay, so x is greater than 25. All right, so in interval notation, um, that's going to be 25 to, I'll write it over here on this side. That'll be 25 is be on the left side and to infinity, and they're both in parentheses. And then when I graph this, I get 25 in the middle. 24, 26. Okay, the arrow is pointing to the right, so for the inequality, so I'm going to go to the right. All right. Okay. So for the next one, we're going to do the same thing, right? We're going to solve for x. So I'm going to subtract 3 on both sides. 69 minus 3 gives me 66, greater than or equal to -11x. Then divide both sides by -11. Okay, so 66 divided by -11 is going to give me a -6. I'm writing too big here. -6, so that's, and then we divided by negative, so we have to flip that inequality to less than or equal to, and then that'll be x. Okay. So in interval notation, so we want everything less than or equal to. Actually, what I want to do is I'm gonna flip this here. So x, I'm gonna not say flip it, rewrite it so that the variable is on the left side. So this is gonna be less than or equal to -6. You don't have to do that, but it does help, okay, especially when you're graphing. So -6 less than or equal to x, or x is greater than or equal to -6. They're saying the same thing, okay? X is bigger than or equal to -6. So that would be -6 to infinity, right? And then this will be a bracket, and then that would be a parenthesis. And then in regards to our number line here, we have its closed circle, and it's going to the right. All right, our next set of problems is going to be 5, 6 minus, maybe you're right then. 5, 6 minus 1/3 x is greater than or equal to -1/3 um, times 5, 6x minus 1. Okay. And then this one is -5x greater than 4/5 and times that by 10/3 x plus 10. Okay. So again, we have +5, 6 minus 1/3 x greater than or equal to -1/3 times 5x minus 6. And then this one is -5x is greater than 4/5 times that by 10 third x plus 10. All right, so the first thing I want to do, remember, we want to do PEMDAS, right? So the parentheses first. So we address what's in the parentheses. There's nothing to simplify there. And then we need to multiply. Now we need to distribute. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's distribute this to each term. Okay. And so when we do that, what do we get? We get greater than or equal to -5/18 minus, sorry, plus 1/3, right? Because a negative and negative is a positive. So 1 times 5 is 5, 3 times 6 is 18. So we get a -5/18 x plus 1/3. Okay. This side we can't do anything, so we just leave that alone. All right. So, all right. So this is our next line so far. We have fractions here. Okay. So the easiest way to do this is multiply everything by the LCD. Okay. So in this case, what's our LCD? That's exactly correct. 18, right? 18. So we're going to multiply everything by 18. This by 18, this by 18. Let me use a different color here. Okay. This by 18, this by 18, this by 18, and this by 18. Okay. So when we do that, now we can start reducing, cancel items and then reduce. So 18 divided by 6, that's going to give us 3. So, or 6 can go into 18 three times, right? 6 can go into 6 one time. 3 can go into 3 one time. 3 can go into 18 six times. Okay, this will cancel. And then same thing here, one time, 6 times. All right, so that's going to give us what? 5 times 3 minus 6x greater or equal to minus 5x plus 1 times 6 is just 6. Okay, so that's where we get there. All right, so we got rid of the fractions. We're good to go. All right, and then we can just simplify this a little bit further. We got 15 here minus 6x greater than or equal to -5x plus 6. I'm going to add 6x on both sides. And then let's just go step by step here. So we have 15, the 6x go away, greater than or equal to 6x minus 5x is going to give us 1x plus 6. Okay, and then I'm going to subtract 6 on both sides. To 6 there. All right, so that cancels. Then 15 minus 6 is going to give us 9. So 9 is greater than equal to x, or I can rewrite it as x is less than equal to 9. Okay, there's again saying the same thing. So in interval notation, that would be so everything less than 9. So 9 is the biggest number. And then we have negative infinity. Okay. So at most you have is 9, everything less than that. All right. And then when we graph this, we have 9, 10, 8. This is a greater than equal to. So the equal to tells me I need to close that, shade the circle, and I'm going to the left. Okay, again, this only applies for here. When the variables on the left side, these guys match. Okay, so for this one, we do something similar. We're going to tack the parentheses first. So we're going to distribute the 4/5. So we have negative 5x greater than, we have what? 4 times 10 is 40 divided by 15x plus 40 over 5, right? Because you can rewrite this as 10 over 1. Okay. All right. So we have a fraction here. I want to get rid of the fraction. You can do this a lot of ways, or in fact, we can simplify this, right? Because 40 divided by 5 is what? That's going to give us 8, right? So let's simplify this a little bit, make our life easier. All right, so this is going to give us 8 here. And then 40 divided by 15, well, I can reduce that, right? So that can be reduced to 8 thirds, okay? So 15 divided by 5 is 3, 40 divided by 5 is 8. So I can reduce that to 8 thirds. Okay. All right. So now what I want to do is, again, I don't like um, that 3. I want to make my LCD 3. Okay. Then I just multiply everything by 3 to get rid of the fraction. Okay. So that gives me negative 15x. Okay. Is greater than 20. No, the 3's are going to cancel, giving us 8x and then plus 24. Okay. Then we're going to subtract 8x on both sides. Actually, you know what? That's fine. That's fine. All right. So what's that give us? That's going to give us a negative 23x. All right. And then the 8x here is going to cancel out, greater than 24. And then we're going to divide everything by negative 23. So x, since I divided by negative, I need to flip my sign. So x is less than 24 over negative 23. Okay. So which is negative 1.04. So this is negative 1.04. Okay. So, but if they want the exact answer, then we just leave it as negative 24 over 23. If they want a decimal answer, then we have negative 1.04. Okay. Plus that helps us in when we graph it. All right. So when we graph it, we have that negative 24 over 23. Okay. So that's negative 1.04. So that means then 0 here will be on the right, right? And then you can just say um, negative 25 over 23. Or you can say negative 1.05 or something. Okay. So we have an open circle and we're going to the left because it says any number less than that. Okay. All right. And then for our interval notation, so that's going to be negative infinity and negative 24 over 23, parenthesis, parenthesis. So there's an answer there. Okay, so let's look at the first one here. All right, so it says we want to translate to an inequality, let x be the variable. So it says a speed that is at most 16 miles per hour. a speed that is at most 60 miles per hour. So what do you think? So we have to have X, right? So at most, is that going to be um, less than symbol, less than equal to? So less than equal to, greater than, or greater equal to. So 1, 2, 3, 4. What do you think? Good, right? So it should be less than or equal to, right? Should be this one, right? Because at most 60. That's the max you can have. The speed is at most 60 miles per hour. Good. All right. How about the next one? We want an age that is at least 21 years old. So we'll start with X. We want at least. Is that going to be less than equal to, greater than, or greater than equal to? Good. Very good, right? So it has to be greater than or equal to, right? Because you have to be at least 21 years old. That's the bottom. And you have to be 21 or older. Okay? So at least 21 years old. Okay, how about the next one? An age that is less than 21 years old. What's that one? Good, right? Just less than, right? Because it basically tells us, right? An age that is less than 21. So that means you cannot be 21. You have to be 20 or younger. Okay? So an age that is less than 21. So less than 21. See the difference between these two? At least means 21 or more. Less than means cannot be 21. Has to be lower than 21. All right. How about this one here? A salary that is more than 40,000. More than 40,000. Good, right? So it has to be bigger than 40K, right? It cannot be equal to 40K. It has to be more than. I have to make more than $40,000. In order for me to survive, it has to be bigger than 40,000. It cannot be 40,000. It has to be $40,001. All right, so X is greater than 40,000. Okay. And then the last one, a salary that is less than or equal to 40,000. Yep, exactly, right? So this would be X is less than or equal to 40,000. Perfect. It says a triangle with height 12 inches is to have an area less than 120 square inches. What must be true about the base of the triangle? Again, a triangle with height 12 inches is to have area less than 120 square inches. What must be true about the base of the triangle? Okay, so yeah, so for this one, so again, a triangle with height 12 inches is to have area less than 120 square inches. What must be true about the base of the triangle? So here we're talking about area, right? So the area of a triangle is 1/2 times base times height. And what do we know about that? It has to be less than 120 inches. So A has to be less than 120. Okay. So what do we know what A to be? Well, A is this. A is 1/2 times base times height. So we're going to replace A by 1/2 times base times height. Okay, because A equals that. And that's going to be less than 120. Well, we want to find out what the base is. What's the base of the triangle? We want to solve for B. Well, they tell us what H is. H is the height, which is 12 inches. So we have 1/2 times the base times 12 is less than 120. Okay. Well, 1/2 times 12 is 6, right? 12 divided by 2 is 6, or half of 12 is 6. So that's going to give us 6B, less than 120. Then we're going to divide everything by 6. So B has to be less than 20, okay? Inches. Okay, it says here a student scores 65 and 82 on two different 100-point tests. If the maximum score on the next test is also 100 points, what score does the student need to maintain at least an average of 70? All right, so again, let's read this one more time. It says student scores 65 and 82 on on two different 100-point tests. If the maximum score on the next is also 100, what score does a student need to maintain at least an average of 70? Okay, so hopefully you remember how to calculate the average, right? We add up all of our items and then divided by we add up all our scores and then divided by the number of scores we have. Okay, so in this case we got a 65 and we also got an 82 on the the first two. And but we don't know the third test. That's what we're looking for, right? But we know we want to find the average, so we have three tests, so we're going to divide by three, okay? And it says you have to have what score does the student need to maintain at least an average of 70? So at least means greater than or equal to, right? So um, we're going to put greater than or equal to 70. Okay. So that's our setup right there. Okay. And then we just solve for X. All right. So in this case, if I multiply, I have 3, right? So I can multiply both sides by 3, and then that will get rid of the 3 here. So we have 65 plus 82 plus X greater than or equal to 210. Then I'm going to combine the like terms. So that's going to give us 147 plus x greater than or equal to 210. And then we're going to subtract 147 on both sides. Okay. So that should give us, oh, that should be a 10, right? Not 11. So that should give us 63. So x is greater than or equal to 63.